with Kaakaki, the African voice.
Now listen. The law is now beyond argument that the effect of a nullification of a thing, not necessarily an election, the effect of nullification of a thing is to completely wipe out, obliterate, remove, undo, erase, or render it ineffective.
Why must Nigerians pay the crime that has been perpetrated by this cabal?
The Bisi Olatilo Show, BOS International.
I think the congregation tonight should be a period for celebration of the incoming, the end of the legal year, the beginning of the legal year, but a period also for sober reflection.
We have signed into law several legislations whose implementation will help us provide the service delivery that you expect of us and raise the standard of life.
The Bisi Olatilo Show, BOS International.
I'll give you all
Independent Television.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
You thought of me.
What are you doing here?
David! You want your game man to stop me from entering your house?
I want to let you know that I will win the competition.
When the thunder strikes, the earth shakes. When the lightning spears strike, there comes confusion, devastation, deception, disbelief, loss, and dismay. Trust in man is deadly. Your close friend, your worst enemy. The Burning Spear. Burning Spear, a story of multi-identity, suspense-filled, educative, and entertaining. The Burning Spear.
Come on, let's go.
Nowhere. It's just a bunch of prejudices about the different communities, but nothing substantial about the cost of the country.
This is Africa Independent Television.
Africa Independent Television.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
Hello and good morning and welcome to Kaakaki on Africa Independent Television AIT. I am Adora Ayache.
And I am Fenami Uhemohai. It's the Thursday edition of the African Show and it's a delight to have you on board.
Well, today is Thursday, the 10th of May, 2012. We invite you to join us to review some major developments in the African continent. But by the way, Shana, how are you?
I'm fine. You look like you didn't get enough rest.
Trust me, let's not go there.
All right, let's begin from Nigeria, where the Education Minister, Professor Rukayatu Rufai, says no matter what Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka may say, he and his 6 friends are the architects of cultism in Nigerian universities.
Oh, but Fenami, that is quite indicting. Very indictive to say that about Wole Soyinka.
But, well, it's kind of true, Adora, but I think when Professor Wole Soyinka and his 6 friends, decided to start a cult, it was for a different reason, against what cultism is about today. I think they came together to start, I can't remember now, I'm not certain, was it a cult called the Buccaneers, and the reason was to help each other, help one another grow, strengthen the other where they're weak. I read that off somewhere, and that was the reason, but now...
Okay. Buccaneer or pirate? Because I know someone.
Yeah, I'm not
either sailors, and I really don't know. But perhaps the original idea of the cult or the group was not violence and.
Oh no, it wasn't at the time.
So maybe as time went on, you know how they say, absolute good manners are corrupted by bad ones. Students changed it into their own form of power. Tussle. So when you say he started cultism, or he gave the idea of cultism in the Nigerian universities, a bit indicting. So I think they should draw the line. But anyway, I'm not pro Wole Soyinka this morning. But Professor Wole Soyinka does not look like a cultist. He neither carries a gun nor an axe.
Yes, that may be true, Adora, but the minister seems to have her facts. Let me quote the minister who spoke at a conference held in the University of Ibadan. Close to 6 decades ago, a group of 7 students at the University of Ibadan, codenamed the original 7 and led by Wole Soyinka, founded the Pirates Confraternity. Yeah, you were right. It was the Pirates, not the Buccaneers.
That's right, because I remember some people refer to him as a sailor. Well, that singular action by the 7 students in 1954 regards of the motifs marked the beginning of cultism and cult-related activities in our tertiary institutions.
Yeah, later 2 other splinter cult groups, the Buccaneers and confraternities, popularly called AS, sprang up in the same University of Ibadan. And of course,
I used to call that I too until someone corrected me and said it's AS. I'm like, what is the meaning of that? Like, by the time I translate it, you'll probably be afraid. So do not even ask what it
actually means bird.
Okay, but I think like what the whole connotation of what the bird stands for and what they do and all of that. But it's interesting. Tsunami, can anybody convert the minister? I mean, what she said are indisputable facts of history. True.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes, but Adora, the pirates' confraternity at the time carried guns. Did they behead those who did not agree with their methods and initiate students through bloody rituals? That wasn't the situation at the time.
I don't think so. I think it was voluntary. I don't think they even went out to scout for people. I don't think they went out to hunt down people who had big bodies and tussles, because that was what used to happen. It's still happening in universities when you see a tall young man with the potential of power, and he speaks to the strength, the strength. That's immaterial.
Now you see, the bad thing about it is that as we speak right now in the universities, you once you're approached, you don't have a choice. Now you're convinced to join them. If you don't, well, you're in big trouble. Like they say, if you're not with us, it means you're against us.
Yes.
And that's you find students who ordinarily, sometimes through good looks, when a guy tends to look good, dresses well, or comes from a rich family, it's a pride to have, all the confraternities struggle and fight for him to join them. And I'm wondering, why the force?
My brother was in school at the time, and he was considered immaterial, and he said they sought him out. He used to sleep in the bush just because they were looking for him to join the cult. And at a point he had to change schools because he got too much. He couldn't go to classes. He would be in classes taking lectures, and they would just walk in and say, hey, you come out, and some of those people have stayed in school for 10 years, 7 years, not doing anything, not graduating, just concentrating on cultism and power. And you wonder what I
have met a few cults members, in my school days, and I always ask, why? Because for most people, when you hear cultism in the university, the first thing that comes to your mind is violence.
Definitely.
Another thing is, if a cult guy, for instance, is chasing a girl, and for any reason the girl embarrasses him in public, she's in trouble. Like she says, I have told you, leave me alone and stop bothering me. And she does that in public. And he considers that.
Just say no.
Let's even assume he considers that as an embarrassment. You know what the method out to her? He and some of his friends will find a way to gang rape that girl. That is the situation of cultism today in our universities. And you find that they are either carrying axes in their pants, or carrying guns, or carrying... So if you are not careful, you're kind of like those who are not into the cult. They're like this when they pass. I don't want them to notice me, so they don't come hunting me.
Even when you go to the bookers and the eateries in schools, they have separate ones for separate sect of people, those who are in cult and those who are not. And like you mentioned, girlfriends, even those who are in a relationship and they see you and find you worthy, your boyfriend would have to step aside, or your partner would have to step aside, and there he not. Just there he not. I think you will regret ever being accosted by one. The thing is that maybe the whole essence of it in the beginning by the Wole Soyinka sect was not for violence or manipulation or intimidation. But over time, perhaps because of the history and the culture of it having power in essence, people have adopted it using negative measures like killing, looting,
and then there's the when you're inducted in through blood rituals. I'm wondering, where did that come in? Where did that come from?
Crazy. I think I also like what Governor Saraki Dixon is doing in Bayelsa. That's the implementation of the 10 years jail term for any cultists that have been found. Anyway, that's not the issue. The issue is that Wole Soyinka and his 6 other university mates created a monster which they could not tame. Even today, the pirates remain a close-knit, exclusive membership society that keeps an uncommon bond amongst its members.
Any of the pirates are not responsible for the cult blood letting in our universities today. Well, That's what many would say. They're not responsible, period.
So now, let's not get into court debate this morning.
But they're not, because, Adora, seriously, they're not, you know, like we have just said, and it's, Wole Soyinka, when they started, they didn't carry arms, they didn't kill, they didn't hunt, they didn't rape. That was not, it was to be a club, kind of a club, but close-knitted club,
like
you know,
like
a family, exactly. And now you have boys carrying guns, raping girls, causing mayhem in the universities, threatening lecturers, insisting that they graduate with, and that's another thing. They say when you're in the cold, because they will make sure the lecturers give you good grades. You must graduate with a first class or a second class. When you graduate, you have the opportunity of having all the forefathers from the same court who are already established. Those forefathers will make sure that you get the best jobs in the society.
That was the original idea, you know, by having that close-knit family. You know, we have a close-knit family. When we finish outside the walls of the school, we are all still a family. But, like we said, people have changed it to their own measures and what they find more pleasing, and to others to their detriment. Well, like I said, let's not get into a debate this morning, but I'm happy that the spate of bombing by Boko Haram is reined in by security operatives.
Yes, Adora, for once, let me join you in looking at the success side of the campaign to check Boko Haram. I am happy too. The security operatives were able to detect and detonate 6 explosives planted at the Bayero University, Kano. Wow, 6. Imagine what could have happened.
6.
That's good.
And it said it was planted in the law department, and I wonder why. You know, why choose a learning place or an institution for crying out loud?
Adora, you see why many are now saying that, you know, the Boko Haram sect, they're not just against Christians, they're against the whole of Nigeria, because in that school there are Christians and there are Muslims. If anything, I stand corrected, but I believe that because the school is located in the north, you find a lot more northerners there in that university than any others, and you find a lot of Muslims as well. So who are they against? You begin to wonder.
Well, the university is scheduled to reopen in a week or so. Imagine what would have happened if the security operators had not detected those explosives. It would have been another harvest of death. That's how the same university lost over 30 people in a bomb attack.
Adora, added to the successes recorded by these security operatives in locating bomb-making factories and demobilizing them, Nigeria could be winning the war against terror.
Perhaps not. But Senate President thinks terrorists have declared war on Nigeria. That's what they're saying.
I agree, Adora. It might be true, and these terrorists, and many, the political terrorists, the trans-border robbing terrorists, and the religious terrorists. But one thing seems determined: Nigeria and Nigerians are determined to win the war, no matter the present pains.
Well, even if President Goodluck Jonathan says Nigerians should not despair, my headache, Tsunami, is that many don't know which of the terrorists to face.
Adora, don't be ridiculous.
No, seriously. I mean, you wonder.
Which of these terrorists do?
Is it trans-border?
Is it the political?
Is it political?
Anyway, whether the political terrorists threatening to divide Nigeria, the trans-border robbing terrorists hauling bombs into markets on the religious, or the religious terrorists targeting churches, Nigeria will overcome.
Amen.
We shall overcome.
Amen. All right, now I'll also say amen. Senate President David Mark asked the Senate committees to improve on their oversight responsibilities.
Yes, so David Mark says ineffective oversight by these committees has been responsible for corruption running wild in the government.
To show that this is not mere grandstanding, let me tell the Senate President something this morning. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, does not know its import-export transactions for the first quarter of 2012, and this is authoritative.
The National Bureau of Statistics has been on its knees begging NNPC to produce the figures, but the corporation has been unable to do so. Is any committee in the Senate asking any questions?
Well, the NNPC matter will be for another day. For this Thursday, our focus will be on Nigeria's emerging bomb culture and the nation's political future. We will examine that in our interview segment, and of course, we have the regular segments, cover stories, special features, health tips with Azama, and Sports Extra. But as always, let's kick off with headline news.
Thanks for staying with us. The Nigerian government is embarking on accelerated registration of poultry farms across the country as part of efforts to reposition poultry farming in the agricultural sector. At a one-day conformity assessment workshop for poultry farmers in Abuja on Wednesday, measures already put in place to improve the standard of poultry production in Nigeria took center stage. A bill to further amend the provisions of the 1999 Constitution to give state legislative houses financial autonomy has passed second reading at the Nigeria's House of Representatives. The lawmakers say the amendment will enhance proper legislative oversight and good governance at the state level. A South African court has ruled that its legal system can investigate and prosecute citizens of neighboring Zimbabwe for suspected crimes against humanity. The decision by a high court in Pretoria could prompt South Africa into launching investigations in high-ranking Harare officials that would strain already difficult diplomatic relations with the power-sharing government in Zimbabwe. Judge Hans Fabric said South Africa was bound by its international legal responsibilities to investigate Zimbabwean officials linked to acts of state-sanctioned torture. U.S. President Barack Obama has ended months of hedging on the issue of gay marriage by saying he thinks same-sex couples should be allowed to wed. He has become the first sitting U.S. president to back gay marriage. Mitt Romney, the Republican presidential challenger in November elections, promptly said he was against gay marriage. In recent days, Vice President Joe Biden and cabinet member Ann Duncan has expressed support for gay unions. Radical cleric Abu Qatada has lost his attempt to make a final appeal to the European Court of Human Rights against his deportation from UK. The court said a panel of judges of the Grand Chamber found the appeal had arrived in time but refused it. Home Secretary Theresa May said she was confident Abu Qatada would soon be out of Britain for good. Greece sank deeper into crisis when the leftist candidate for prime minister set conditions for a new coalition which the biggest party says will destroy the country. Antonis Samaras, leader of the conservative New Democracy Party, which finished first in Sudan's election, said leftist Alexis Tsipras will drive Greece out to the euro with his demand that an EU-IMF bailout be rejected as a condition for forming a government coalition. Ukraine's jailed opposition leader Yulia Tymoshenko has been moved from her prison to a local hospital in Kharkiv, where she will receive treatment from German doctors. 51-year-old Tymoshenko, a former prime minister, was jailed last October for 7 years for alleged abuse of power while in office, a charge she denied. Authorities have refused her to go abroad for treatment for chronic back pains after she turned down the services of state-appointed Ukrainian doctors. Thailand held its annual royal plugging ceremony to mark the start of the rice growing season, attended by Thailand Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra and Crown Prince Maha Vajiralongkorn. The ritual started with officials leading trained oxen around the royal grounds. Then the sacred oxen are offered 7 different types of food: paddy seeds, grass, maize, hay, water, and nickel. Their choice is closely watched, as it is believed that it predicts what type of harvest and weather to expect. Those were the headline news. Kaakaki, the African Voice, will continue in a moment. When we come back, it will be time for our cover story. Stay with us.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African Voice.
Well, hello, good morning. This is Kaakaki, the African Voice, and of course it's Thursday, almost the end of the week. It's time for us to go into a cover story, and this morning we are dealing with and looking at terrorism. Every act of terrorism has a negative effect on the society. Now, when terror is introduced into the polity, the future of a nation could be compromised with the rising incidence of violence in Nigeria, especially the introduction of bombing by Boko Haram. Now, what is Nigeria's political future going to be like if the bomb culture gets into the country's political campaigns? This is the subject of our cover story by Oluchi. Let's take a look.
Nigeria has been experiencing incessant bombings which have claimed many lives, especially in the northern part of the country. These bombings are said to be politically and religiously motivated.
I do not think that this new culture of bombing, which has plagued our nation, is religiously motivated. I would want to agree that it is more of a political thing than religion.
I think we should be careful about imputing motives either of a religious, ethnic, or political nature to them. Until and unless we are able to establish scientifically, empirically, out of a thorough investigative process, that they are the result of either ethnicity, religion, or politics.
Whether they are politically or religiously motivated, I think it is a combination of both. Politically, in the sense that if you look at it, this insecurity has actually been there before the last general election of last year. But it increased after that election. People are not using religion as an excuse to perpetrate evil acts, to perpetrate their evil desire.
But should bombings be used as a bargaining chip for power? There are suppositions that some persons and politicians could possibly stand against this present administration and are creating the present situation in order to put pressure on the government and make it weak ahead of the 2015 elections.
With 2015, people are angling for positions, more so in this country. I pity the president. As far as I see him as a sitting duck. Less than 12.5 years to the next election, people in this position. If I look around the country, say for the judiciary, where nobody from there can say, I want to contest for presidency, I can see, even the National Assembly, I can see people positioning themselves, taking position, and offering to be solution to the crisis we have.
The desperation is there on the part of the politicians because they want to rule at all costs. They want to be relevant at all costs. But the Constitution empowers the leadership of this government, that is Mr. President, to deal decisively with such dissidents, with such persons that will be causing such problems. So the buck still lies at the doorstep of Mr. President.
We also cannot rule out the fact that there might be individuals or groups who are seeking to profit politically from this spate of bombings. But I would, as an individual, rather say, let us place them where they are. These are clear acts of terror. That is what, as a community, as a society, we should be united around. That these are acts of terror that they are indiscriminate.
Unfortunately, however, the situation puts Nigeria at risk of developing a culture of violence in its power equation and transition to a new government.
Nigeria is also already like Somalia. Right now, Nigeria is already like Afghanistan. If you watch Al Jazeera, they no longer report the bomb incident in Nigeria as breaking news. They no longer report them even as ordinary news because they are tired of reporting them. Even sometimes we experience more bomb explosion in Nigeria than in Afghanistan. We are already like those countries. The only prayer we are having here is that we should no longer be like them. We are already like these countries. In fact, sometimes they are better than us.
The socio-cultural composition of societies differ. So the socio-cultural context of the societies you have enumerated clearly is different from Nigeria. The other point to make is terror will thrive to the extent that the community allows it to thrive. In Nigeria, we can see clearly that there is growing unanimity of consensus that this terror must not be allowed to thrive here.
There will be peace because this country is more religious than we even tend to be. God is on the throne. And therefore, I think that as soon as we're getting into the end of the year, there must be an amicable resolution to this Boko Haram thing. Government will do what is necessary to put the necessary infrastructure and developmental objectives that will make Nigerians to be happy. And of course, we're going to forget everything about bombing.
This possible political culture might have some implications if the country does not come together to tackle the challenge and create a violence-free polity.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you are just in time, and I'm sure they're just waking up.
Now, if you're just waking up, you're up early. Well, I bet you some people are probably still sleeping. Well, but you know, Dora, I discovered recently that quite a number of people wake up with us to catch Kaakaki because I met a few people, at least 4 people yesterday while I was at the hospital, and they told me that they cannot do without waking up with Kaakaki because they want to be informed, they want to know what's happening before they go to work, and their best bet is to watch Kaakaki. It felt good hearing that from those people, and it means that we're doing our job.
Interesting. And the one thing I do remember, I told you the other time, is about, someone wakes up and says we talk like we talk in African rooms, and they feel really refreshed and revived, and while they're driving, they don't mind the traffic. Because for them, their day has already started, and they get to know what's happening in the papers. But anyway, thank you, everybody, for that. It's interesting and wonderful to have.
Yes, indeed, it is. It's very encouraging. It's very uninspiring. All right, Adora, something bothered me about that cover story, talking about what Nigeria's political future is going to be like if bomb cultures, continues, especially exactly. And a lot of times during political campaign years, you find that there are lots of violence, political
with the office campaign alone.
Exactly. Office holders, everybody has 1 thug or 2 or even 10, to carry out their dirty deals and all of that. And now, with the culture of bombing, I'm worried what could happen. Now, one of the respondents in that report said something. He said, it's not a matter of comparing ourselves to countries like Somalia or Afghanistan, but we have become like them, that some other international media stations do not report bomb explosions in Nigeria as breaking news anymore. It's just like in Afghanistan, it's a normal thing, it's an everyday biggie. Now that worries me, that is worrisome, because if what he says is anything to go by, then wow, it's time to start working.
Another thing, Shana, I worry about is the use of Boko Haram's bombing spreads and, of course, the insurgency as a platform to actually use them as a front to do other mayhem, to go into, like, we know that ordinarily when political campaigns are being done, there is already a knowing that there is going to be either violence or killings or lootings or kidnapping or maiming. Now, people will say, oh, it's Boko Haram again.
And it may not be.
Yes, and it may not be Boko Haram, because this house and these truant people are actually using these measures to carry out their own, premeditated, selfish attacks. Yeah. So that is why I think that to check it now and nip it in the bud be essential. Because one thing is, when this happens, Boko Haram will come again and say, oh, the news is biased, we were not the ones that did the attack. But what do you expect people to think when it has almost become a culture? Do you get what I'm saying?
I understand you, Adora, because you do have a reason to be worried, because now it's like it's easy to get a bomb from anywhere. There are improvised explosive devices everywhere. I think it has become very easy to put this improvised devices together and create bombs. And it is scary, because it's like walking to the street or walking into the market and say, hey, I need bomb. Who has bomb? I want to buy a bomb. And if that happens, then yes, trust me, we are in trouble. So we have to really look at the issue of this bomb culture that the country is developing, while preparing for the political campaign years coming. Well, in a few years.
Just before you continue, I am almost at the peak of paranoia myself. Yesterday I was driving by and I saw this teapot, this truck carrying loads of iron pipes and old cans and bottles, and perhaps we were going to recycle, and I just stopped the taxi driver and I said, Oga, beautiful, I did that, I'm a couple his company. He said, Madam, no be
All right. Anyway, we have another special feature, still talking improvised explosive devices. Wow. The spate of bombings in the country in recent time has become a huge source of concern for most Nigerians. This is considering the number of lives lost and the effects on the socio-economic and political growth of the country. These bombs are made using improvised explosive devices known as IEDs. How did this knowledge of bomb making get into the hands of the Boko Haram group, who are responsible for most of these bombings? In this report by Tunde Hassan, we shall be taking a look at these phenomena with reference to some bombing that rocked Kaduna recently. Let's go to Kaduna and see.
What was a hotel, shattered glasses of a two-story structure, and these mutilated small parts splattered around the wheel of a barrel. Then this blooded man, a casualty of self-inflicted misery. These are gory, unsavory tales of bomb explosions, swelling a rising agony of bombings in a country whose people used to hear of such in distant lands.
Within 2 weeks, and in a disturbing twist, 4 blasts went off in Kaduna from what experts called improvised explosive devices, IEDs. This hospital handled casualties from 2 major incidences. One of such casualty was treated in this very ward and spent well over 1 week. One of such days remaining unconscious.
In a semi-conscious, the next day she became fully breathless throughout for some days. Breathless over 1 week before she could get herself.
What was the extent of the injury?
All over her body, you see blasts, wound, as if it is a kind of, what do I say, bombs, from head to toe.
These are all IED destructive bombings. They are not military explosives.
These intertwined wires are not from an electrical workshop. They are discoveries in an alleged bomb factory of a sort in a Kaduna suburb. Also found were materials for making good-to-go IEDs, among other dangerous weapons.
IEDs are the improvised explosive devices constructed based on the knowledge and material available.
If it has gone to the level where improvised explosive devices that could kill many scores of people, then that is very dangerous.
Materials for making IEDs seem crude, but nonetheless lethal. Nails, discarded canisters, broken bottles, wired contraptions, corrosive chemicals, cheap timers.
Anything and everything is usable. All that is required is the knowledge to improvise. So how did such dangerous knowledge get into deadly hands?
The police have made some arrests.
A young man was arrested by some of the witnesses, and we took him over. Actually, he was about to be lynched, but our men rescued him. He is here. We are working on the level of his involvement. And our prompt interference, prompt arrival, led to the arrest of someone who turned out to be a key suspect.
It is instructive that IEDs either injured or killed those in their possession, raising issues about the place of the affected within the chain of the masterminds. Concern here is about the profile of those with such dangerous scientific know-how, apparently unschooled, irate youths.
I am not sure that it is people who are completely stark illiterates that will be involved in this. It will certainly be people who are half-baked, educated persons who are aware of some of the problems in society, and they feel embittered by certain developments, and they want to take it back on society.
All these in an environment where education index is low and science and tech-based capacity is even lower. Another curious angle is the foreign connection. This injured suspect claimed he got 2 devices from an Afghan. Larabe da a cikin wancan soyin mutane ba.
Akwai da larabe da a cikin
wato da suka kira
wata kace ba shi bi baki
baki ba.
Irin kamar yaushe kenan.
Kamar
karfe 2 na rana.
Sai suka ba shi bom ɗin a cikin lafiya.
Suka ba shi bai?
Bom da bayi a cikin lafiya.
Guda biyu a cikin lafiya ya kasan bom ne.
Of the 5 suspects in the Kabbalah Hotel bombing in Kaduna, 4 were allegedly from Niger.
Niger. Following some calls from our authorities representing Niger government in Nigeria, we have consulted the people concerned. We have met with immigration, we have met with the police, and finally we have discovered that they are not guilty. They are just there by hazard, by mistake.
It's the latest global happening, and the problem, federal government should try one way or the other to keep the problem out of the country.
As security agencies work towards unraveling bomb-related cases, especially in Kaduna, the fact is dangerous knowledge in unsteady, irate hands is deadly for all.
Well, you look at that and you wonder, how far, so far we've come, that people actually have seen the bombings as an act and a culture.
You say, how far, so far? How far, so far? Ask that guy still lying there in that hospital.
It's a woman.
Oh, a woman.
A woman, yes.
Okay. Ask that woman still lying there in that hospital, talking about, you heard the nurse say she's restless, she's unconscious most of the time, she's yet to come to terms to what's happened. She has burns all over her body. And we always just count how many people died. We don't remember those who have to live with the deformity, through the deformity, the pain and the scars of those explosions. That is why this
what really hurts
growing culture must stop.
What really hurts me is that the violence doesn't happen to the elites or the bourgeoisie. It actually affects the grassroots and people who live and just trying to get by.
Can you see my face?
It's
anyway. You go around where the offices are, they're barricaded, they're blocked, they're protected
with all the security.
With all the securities, and we're left. I beg. While we're talking about hospitals.
Good news.
Yes, I was talking about hospitals and health. Of course, Adama. I love this dress. She's looking sparkly this morning, like Cinderella.
What's in the air? What's in the air?
I don't know what is in the air, but when you said, can I see your face? I did see, and it's a very beautiful face. It's lovely, lovely, lovely.
But I love your dress.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Purple is my best color anyway, so anything purple.
Oh, really?
And purple is royal.
Yes.
Royal. Well, I'm not laying claims to any of the Obas or Aziz or Kings or any of them around the corner. I'm not laying claims to them.
So what are we doing today? It's health tips.
Yes, it's health tips. Good morning out there. I hope you have had your tea, your coffee, and everything. And, there seems to be some kind of a commotion going on and someone walking in. What's going on? What's going on here? Oh my God! What is this? What's going on here?
I came to surprise you.
Oh my goodness!
Of AIT and Kaakaki.
Oh my God! It's not my birthday.
It's not your birthday. This is just a cake to say.
And it's not Valentine's
either.
My
God! It's not
my
picture.
Can we come to the
director, please, can we come into the picture?
Oh, thank you. Oh my God! Oh, the picture is adorable. Come along.
Doctor,
oh my God.
Can you let us into the...
Do you remember this gentleman?
Yes, we do.
World Epilepsy Day.
We have this
event in Kaakaki Market. And we were there, and then he was here in the studio with us. I have forgotten all about that. Who allowed you to do this?
Well, no, we had such a great time, and World Epilepsy Day, or Purple Day, in Nigeria, or at least in Abuja, we had such impact simply because of the support given by AIT, by Kaakaki, and by yourself. I said, you know, the little I can do, the little we can do, you know, is to come and say thank you. So this is...
Oh my God! Okay, and it says thank you. Cherries on top.
Let's plug the gentleman. He's not going to do that.
I'm hungry.
What do you think you're hungry? Isn't your husband feeding you a dinner?
Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you so much. Thank you. I better move over here. Don't be naughty.
Oh my God. I think we should just go ahead.
Have a table, please. I brought the knife as well. So.
Okay, it's okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
So what do we say?
No. Thank you to AIT, to Kaakaki, and to Adama, you know, for all the support that you gave us.
Thank you, Adama. We love what. I think we should all cut the cake together.
Okay.
Come on, ladies.
After Kaakaki? Okay. 1, 2, go.
Kaakaki! The African boy. Adora, you can't wait to get your hands on this.
No, I can't. And, well, I'm using the opportunity. If you want to show some gratitude too, you can bring some more cake.
We don't want cake.
Let me hold it.
Oh, okay.
Good way to have
Isn't it?
Okay. Tsunami.
I know you were hungry.
Tsunami.
I'm hungry.
She's actually grabbing the cake for herself. Oh my God, this is a pleasant surprise.
Let's give our guest. Thank you. Yes.
What do you think? We should start doing health tips too.
Yes, we should. I agree, we should.
So that the health tips become
we can get cake.
Well, you at home, you know, cakes are a treat and not a diet. So this is just a thank you to Kaakaki House. As far as I'm concerned, it's to Kaakaki by this wonderful, wonderful gentleman. Oh, Dr. Gumbo. This is just amazing.
Thank you so much. I mean, with all honesty, we created so much awareness about epilepsy.
Yeah.
And I know because of you, a lot more people know how to treat somebody who is having a seizure.
Wow. Okay, so you're saying that there has been a great impact.
There's been real
that's
impact.
good. We're glad to have been able to help that cause, and we hope that you continue to create more awareness.
That's our responsibility. That's what we're here for, to inform you and to do whatever we can.
And I think what you did on the street was actually remarkable. Watching you, it was...
Yes, we saw the
actors.
The actors, yes. It was so real. It was so real. You know,
all over the world. I mean, we belong now to the World Purple Day organization, and that was the only time ever that kind of activity, you know, is actually taking place.
And it happened because of AIT Kaakaki.
It did.
Kaakaki, we're the men.
Thank you,
Adama. Thank you again. This is so amazing.
Oh, yes,
you're going to miss me today. I can't talk about anything. But tomorrow I'll be back after eating all this cake.
All right, we've got to go. Thank you.
Give me my cake back, Tsunami. Tsunami, you can have the Go back to work. Emmanuel, stop feeding this woman, please. Well, I have to go down too and enjoy some of my cake. So I'll see you tomorrow. I'm just so... I don't know. Okay. I'm going off now. I'll see you tomorrow. Producer, can I leave now?
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
I'm still enjoying my cake.
Talk about surprises and everything in store. You know,
Dr. Gumbo, quite the ladies' man.
You know what I was going to say? Well, zip it, Adora. I'm not going
Adora has something to say. She was actually going to gossip and tease Adama and the doctor.
No, you know, it's a health thing. Yeah, so appreciation in that regard is really important.
Oh, please.
Yeah, so let's get on with it. All right, talking about appreciation, we're talking about women now, and of course, political role and social economic relevance. Now, from the 1929 About Women riots to contemporary times, Nigerian women have continued to seek social, political, and economic relevance. Efforts at institutionalizing gender equality have at best been feasible. However, the emergence of Africa's second female president, Malawi's Joyce Banda, seems to be giving Nigerian women a greater impetus to continue the struggle for relevance. In this special feature, correspondent Moji Danisa reports that Nigerian women may be geared up, but there are still challenges, of course, to deal with. Let's take a look.
On a bright sunny day in Nairobi, Kenya, the years 2010 to 2020 were declared the Decade for Women in Africa, AWD. Within this all-important decade, Joyce Banda of Malawi became Africa's second female president after Liberia's Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. At the age of 25, Banda had 3 children and was in an abusive marriage. She divorced her husband and went into full gender activism and empowerment. Her emergence as president has given other African women hope.
We know that something good is happening, and God has done this to ensure that we women wake up to our duties.
The former preconceived notions about the fact that culture plays a very big role in the emergence of women is starting to fall apart at the seams.
Now that Malawi has come as a second one, it's now becoming something that's doable, and it's taking away the myth that it's a male's well only.
Now it is showing that our men in Africa are ready to lead, and they know women are capable and they are ready to enforce their life and that of their children and their country.
However, in Nigeria, a land which is largely dominated by men, how prepared is the society for female presidents?
It is a bit unfortunate that we only come into the limelight and into reckoning by maybe death or some small squabble in the party, which should not be.
Only recently, a Nigerian woman, Sarah Jubril, dared to contest for the land's highest position, but her outing was dismal as she recorded only 1 vote, her own.
Kaakaki is giving us so much, it's making us miserable. It's causing death, it's causing bad governance, it's sustaining corruption as a result of patriarchal structures, attitudes and systems.
I think there's nothing wrong with women also mentoring and enabling and facilitating and protecting the spaces in which women would emerge. We've just been talking about Ngozi, for example. If we had strong women in the party, in politics, it would be very easy for them to speak up for her.
Women are half of the world anyway, and so and we're getting better educated, and so what it is that the men can do with regards to the tools that they have for governance is getting more and more available to the women.
A recent study revealed that of the 190 United Nations members, Nigeria ranks 125 and an unfortunate last in the Commonwealth of Nations in the overall rating of gender affirmative action, despite President Goodluck Jonathan's provision of 30% affirmation for women.
So the support by having president, gender-sensitive presidents like our own dear President Goodluck Jonathan, Nigerian women will come a long way.
Largely seen as obstacles to women's aspiration for political relevance, Nigerian men say they believe that there are good materials for president, but women would have to fight for it.
Allowing is about women getting up and taking stuff by this. If there's that first man that gets up and tries to go there and get it, I think you have a lot of men supporting them. But if you expect that men should hold a meeting and say, okay, now we want a woman to head us, I'm sorry, it may take quite a while.
Man was first created by God. So it's not a question of accepting. It is a question of the woman, the strength of the woman.
Nigeria has produced its first female fighter jet pilot. Women have been admitted into the regular course of the Nigerian Defense Academy for the first time, and a Nigerian woman, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, was considered as one of the 3 candidates for the position of the president of the World Bank.
What we are battling with is the stolen power of the African woman. Go and check through history.
great warriors were produced by Africans.
Aside cultural limitations and other factors such as childbearing and poverty, many are of the opinion that a female president in Nigeria may just be a dream.
There is no doubt that you need to lobby, you need to negotiate, you need to consult, you need to do so many things in Nigeria to get into such a position.
The quest for female presidents in Nigeria is not necessarily a mirage, but are women coordinated and determined enough to push for this right? And the big question is, do women really love and support each other? Moji Danisa.
Okay, Adora, in 5 years' time, I want to be Nigeria's first female president.
Indeed.
Would you support me?
Yes, as long as I am.
Are you sure?
Okay, I don't want to say that before this.
You know what they say? Women always backstab one another and do all this.
But I think that is true. But
I think again that it may not be completely true. Okay, look at both of us. Okay, I dare say the Kaakaki crew, okay, presenters are all female. And we do a good job together. We work together. And I know that when people have... I also believe that when people have a common front, they understand one another. They know they work as a team. They can make things happen, male or female.
And I think it's about knowing about certain things. In fact, I want to tell you about a court case where an SAN outrightly lashed out as a junior lawyer who was a female. But I'm going to tell you that after Inside Nigeria. So just stay with us. Top of the hour, time for Inside Nigeria.
Thanks for staying with us. The federal government is to put in place an educational intervention program in all states of the federation to check the challenges of indigent children. The vice president, who was speaking at a review meeting of the Almajiri education program at the presidential villa in Abuja, said a meeting of state governors and traditional rulers will be convened to consider and agree on ways of extending the program to all parts of the country.
Should aim at reviewing the program along an increased participation of stakeholders, particularly states and local governments, as well as the traditional institutions, with a view to effectively contributing positively toward ensuring the success of this novel program.
Vice President Mamadi Sambo said the federal government is committed to providing Western education for the 9.5 billion Almajiris scattered across the country, in addition to having Islamic education. The Vice President charged the review committee to assess the present situation and come up with suggestions on how to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the program. Women as stakeholders in the Greater Nigeria project have been challenged to monitor and sensitize their children on the importance of peace for sustainable development in the country. Nigeria's First Lady Patience Jonathan gave the charge at the flag-off of the Peace Advocacy Rally in Makurdi, the Benue State capital.
As virtuous women, I enjoy you all to help preach the message of peace and unity to your husbands, children, and wives. They must reject all form of violence and shun evil company.
Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Commission, Osita Chidoke, Chidoka has expressed deep reservation with the findings of the Steve Onsai report, which recommended that the agency be either scrapped or merged with another agency. Chidoka, who was speaking at an emergency meeting with sector commanders of the commission from across the country on Wednesday in Abuja, however, said the performance of the FRSC has shown that it has justified the reason for its creation.
Of course, we do not agree with the conclusions of the panel, but whatever decision government takes, we will live with it. But let us, in the discharge of our work, make sure that we do it well.
As the Nigerian government tries to grapple with the security challenges in most parts of the country, the Delta State Police Command has trained about 148 of its men to rise to the challenge of curtailing acts of terrorism. Police Commissioner Ikechukwu Aduba at the pass-out parade of the combatants dispatched of 50 of them to the volatile area of Warri, Delta State, South Nigeria.
No matter how small, at least so that we can be a kind of central city for our officers on the street.
Judge of the Federal Capital Territory, Lawal Gumi, says a new emphasis will be placed on arbitration and mediation to resolve legal disputes in the country. Gumi, who was speaking at the commissioning of the International Center for Arbitration and Mediation in Abuja, noted the overburdened and time-consuming nature of the Nigerian judicial system and the need to do something about it.
You know that when investors come into this country, the first things they ask about are whether there is a good dispute resolution mechanism in this country, apart from the normal court setup. Everyone knows that our justice sector works rather slowly. So international investors would like a center like this where things can be dealt with expeditiously.
That's inside Nigeria. Kaakaki B African Voice will continue in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Is required. Can you attend to this woman?
Because the nurse has apparently just gone into prepared to test her temperature. He's not planning to tell his wife until the other lady delivers. Not heartless. Is this our business if your husband impregnates another woman? The only problem I have is with people making silly and grave mistakes, especially in marriage. You are a nurse and not a marriage counselor.
A jealous man that doesn't like sharing some of my personal effects with anybody.
Women are now regarded as personal effects. Flirting time is over.
Enemy of progress.
If my husband comes and say, make I no work, I go quickly fine.
Budgeting. Questions such as, do we need an NMP in the first place, must be asked. My view, we don't.
He is the field officer. He has the responsibility to ensure all operations regarding arrest and all that is conducted in the usual manner.
Engaging emerging topical issues in the polity.
The mere fact that we pay for 24 million liters of petrol on a daily basis, which is not, is shocking. And I think by now people should be ready.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
When the thunder strikes, the earth shakes. When the nuclear strikes, there comes confusion, devastation, deception, disbelief, love, and dismay. Trust in man is deadly. Your close friend, your worst enemy. The Burning Spear. Burning Spear, a story of multi-identity, suspense-filled, educative, and entertaining. The Burning Spear.
Come on, let's go.
Nowhere. It's just a bunch of prejudices about the different communities, but nothing substantial about the cause of the conflict.
It is becoming expensive to have you there.
If it was you that lost your brother, would you do it?
Family ties, a thorn in the flesh.
To be seeing my daughter every day is not small money.
But doctor, when he's concerned,
my pocket is never afraid. Oh, well, I will do everything. I'm making on the name of and then I tell well, man.
Yeah, I don't like anything that has to do with jazz. It's like, come, you be like, say, hungry, never, why are you rich, Abby?
You know nothing about football, so there's no point arguing. Organize your cup and not do your body. This one not the couple.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
Now, still a very good morning to you. This is Kaakaki, the African voice, and of course it is time for us to delve deep into the interview segments this morning. And of course we're talking about Boko Haram and the culture thereof, and of course the effects it will have in future political campaigns, as we saw in the cover story. Now, it may not be quite wrong to say that violence has over time remained a major challenge in Nigeria's political stability.
Yeah. The outcome of elections in Nigeria has suffered credibility problem on account of violence, including thuggery, ballot snatching, and in extreme cases, the killing of political opponents.
Now, these challenges have occurred in situations where the proliferation arms has not been a major challenge.
But Nigeria, in the uncommon challenge of Boko Haram, which had introduced a new dimension to violence in Nigeria.
Well, the Boko Haram challenge was first concentrated in Borno State, where the sect members attacked the police and other security agencies.
Also, from shooting personnel of these agencies, Boko Haram has graduated into using bombs.
Now, the sect has also extended its campaign of terror to many of the states in the north.
The more worrisome dimension to the Boko Haram challenge is the domestication of the technology of manufacturing improvised explosive devices.
Indeed, it is. Now, this new challenge is more worrisome because that technology is getting into the hands of all manner of people, including criminals and elements who can be bought by the do-or-die politicians. This creates a true concern for the future of Nigerian politics, in a situation where politicians are prepared to get into power no matter what is the cost. The nation, it's at loom for this. Now, the question is, how did Nigeria get into this kind of situation? And how can the situation be addressed? Indeed, can the spread of the knowledge of the production and use of IED be checked? And what are the implications of this spread for the security and political future of Nigeria? This is the matter in focus today, and we have joining us in the studio Dr. Paddy Kembi Njoko, President, Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators, ICMC, and of course President, International Institute of Leadership and Governance in UNILAG. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Adora. Thank you very much.
Welcome again. It's good to have you.
Thank you, thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Paddy.
Thank you, Sonia.
The last time we saw you, we were talking about the man.
The hero.
The hero.
The legend.
Yes,
Ojukwu.
Yes,
and
yes.
I did ask you before we came on, how did all of the organization and planning went?
It went on very, very well. We thank you for your own contribution.
Okay.
The media did wonderfully well for us, and I think the whole country was proud that something could be well organized.
And successful, too.
Successful, seamless, and I think the man must have gone home happy.
Most importantly, violence-free.
Exactly, violence-free.
Violence-free.
Yes, violence-free.
Okay, yes. You've had the introduction. Now we've seen the culture of the Boko Haram, and we've seen the extent and the desperation of even the technique used in making these bombings. Now, what and how would you interpret this culture so far so good in the Nigerian polity?
In the Nigerian polity, I think it's something that was expected.
Okay.
Violence has been generated by the economy, and of course the economy has been fueled by the type of politics we also practice as a nation. I've on this podium before talked about the nefarious consequences of a rent economy. A rent economy is one that shares rent and consumes rent at the end of every month and does nothing to produce what you share. You will agree with me, or I don't know whether you were there then, in the 60s, in the 50s.
I want to agree with you.
Okay. I'm happy you disagree with me there.
I was not there.
That when our people depended primarily on agrarian economy, everybody was busy with one thing or the other, producing what built up the national economy. Today, 150 million people are waiting for crude oil to be sold. You need to see how impatiently we wait for the president to sign the budget. That was not in our lexicon before. And so when it's signed, then that budget is distributed. And because it comes in mass quantities every month, a few people cart it away. Naturally, that generates idleness, tension, a sense of denial, which now translates into a sense of revenge. This is the genesis. And people think they have quicker solutions to the problem, which is to grab power. You did say, Adora did say that the desperation with which people want to get into power. In the past, you wouldn't have that type of desperation because you were coming to serve. You would be begged to come and serve, to come and serve. Now you beg
to serve.
Not necessarily to serve, to come and chop, in quotes, in the Nigerian context. And that creates a problem about the enlistment and recruitment of leadership material. You don't beg people again to come and serve you. People force themselves to serve. And this naturally causes irritation. And this irritation has snowballed into what you call social violence today. Added to that is the fact that whether you like it or not, whatever happens somewhere else in a global village must naturally get to the other end of the village. In the past, we used to hear of bombings. We used to hear of hijacks. We used to hear of kidnappings in Colombia, bombings in the distant Far East and Arab world, Afghanistan, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, if you Google Afghanistan now, Google the history of bombing, you get it in an instant. And there's nothing that stops somebody from here, from Nigeria, to get used to acquire that culture instantly through the internet. And so this is with us. Unfortunately, it is with us.
All right. Dr. Paddy, you're an expert in peace, reconciliation, and conflict resolution. Now, in our introduction, we said that the culture, so to speak, of bombing has become worrisome. Are we right to be worried, or do you think this matter is just something to, or we're making unnecessary noise about it, considering the fact that, like we also said, we have election years coming very soon, another 2.5 years or thereabouts, and you know that during election years, politicians, those desperate politicians will employ anyone, to create havoc and mayhem. Now, they also have easy access to IEDs.
Very interesting question. Whether we have cause to be worried, yes, because we are approaching the political D-Day.
Yeah.
Good. One, we have cause to be worried. We have cause to be worried not just about the political deadline of renewing the mandates of office holders, political office holders, but we have to be worried about Nigeria. We have to be worried about the life of the average Nigerian. The Okada people who were killed in Kaduna, they were not in a political rally. The cattle traders who were killed in Potiskum were not in a political rally.
Indeed.
Now, if you attend a social function here in town and in Abuja, you'll be frisked. In fact, before I entered your place now, I wasn't coming for a political rally here. My car was searched and frisked, even when I'm coming to render selfless service to the nation. So that creates more problem that goes beyond politics. The political deadline. And so, while we worry on the one hand, and why I said the question is very interesting, we worry on the one hand about that, but you refer to me as a conflict resolver who is used to the anatomy of conflicts, the physiology and anatomy of conflicts. Naturally, I see it as a phenomenon that should be studied in its normalcy. That's normalcy as a systemic growth, and one that should be embraced before you understand it and treat it. So embracing it does not entail panic.
All right.
Once you panic, you lose track. You can't handle it again. The best way is to have some sort of clinical equanimity that leads you to understand the very nature of this violence and then to go about solving it. That is the same thing the doctor does, for example, when he understands that a patient has cancer. He does not panic. The moment he panics, he has lost it. He can't treat the patient. Unfortunately, this phenomenon is here with us. But as conflict
resolve, we are panicking. Many people are panicking.
Yeah, that's the natural thing is to panic. But you said, as a conflict resolver, what do you do? What I do is to remain poised and look at the problem in its enormity but entirety, to be able to find a solution, and that solution is how do we approach it.
Okay.
Even if a lunatic is a violent one, the psychiatrist will find a way to engage that lunatic and try to cure the lunacy. But if he panics, the psychiatrist, he may end up getting contagion because in his panic he loses control and starts behaving like the lunatic.
All right, Dr. Paddy, I'll take you to two things you said: manner of approach, and of course the doctor-patient relationship. Now, before a person thinks of an act, there must have been some sort of recycling, subconscious thought process going on. He must have thought it before he now puts it into a plan and then exerts it. Now, we speak of unemployment in Nigeria. Let's start from there. We speak of idle youths.
Yes.
We speak of people who barely have nothing to do because probably the education system has failed us. Now, if we're looking forward to, say, 2015, and these people are not doing anything, and of course we have the insurgency of Boko Haram, how is it possible to tell somebody who is offered $1,000, perhaps maybe $500, to actually make IEDs to be able to assist a candidate eradicate their position because he has nothing else to do? Now, what I want you to address with this is the state of the mind of the Nigerian youth. How are we able to make them understand that regardless of the fact the Nigerian is a Nigerian and patriotism is first?
Thank you very much. You have touched another vista of this discourse, which I was interested in. I'm probably a bit worried about that you seemed to ignore in your intro. James Baldwin, the American writer, wrote a book called The Fire Next Time. We're worrying about the bomb we see, and we're trying to attribute it to Boko Haram. There are many bombs, latent bombs,
waiting to explode
in the polity that you're worried about. And the greatest is the time bomb. The time bomb that is ticking to explosion in Nigeria. And what is this time bomb? As you said, you have a polity, you have an economy, you have a nation that has about 75 million youths in their productive stage of life, and who unfortunately have nothing positive to produce now because they are not engaged. They are at an age where anything can be fashionable. That's why they dress the way they dress. They see some guy. I was telling some of them the other day that as far back as 1976, when I was a student in France, it was fashionable to wear jeans. And we thought, oh, it was for them there. In Europe, everybody was in jeans, but it started in the United States. But today, in fact, I see people dancing traditional dances in Nigeria, but wearing jeans. And so it's with us. These people are ready to embrace anything that presents itself. And they're idle. Because of the analysis I earlier made for you, we run a rent economy which produces nothing but consumes conspicuously. The few people who are at the aim of the distribution of the rent consume conspicuously. And because they consume conspicuously, in fact, it's what we call concupiscent consumption. Their consumption irritates the rest, the majority. And they say, look, our life has been devalued. Our life is worth nothing again. And that's why you see somebody ready and happy to die. Because he says, since I am just existing and not living, I don't care how many people die with me. What I'm saying does not in any way give a moral justification for the act, but is diagnostic, as you said, as you asked me earlier. Yes. How do you approach it? You must diagnose the cause of the ailment before you start treating it. So, in a situation where you have 75 million idle people, dynamos, ready to act, ready to explode, what do you do before you are 2015 that you are talking about? How do you engage the youth? Are we really engaging them? I heard of a political party in Nigeria whose youth leader is 60 years old. The youth leader is 60 years old.
Let me help you out.
Good.
You're really important.
I don't know. That own mouth has said it, as Jesus would say. At 60, the man should be a grandfather. So it means he is still a youth, leading his son and his grandson in the youth wing of the party. Where is the position for the youth of that party? Where is the position for the youth of the country? And so these people are there, ready to lend themselves to any influence that passes by. And one of these influences that is passing by today is the Arab Spring. Yes. Where the young people get out and say, look, I'm ready to die unless this change is made. One of the attractions today is suicide action. I'm ready to change this situation even if I die.
Even if it costs me my life.
Even if it costs me my life. This is what we have to contend with. And it is absolutely necessary for you and for me, for the Nigerian out there, for the people who are leading and ruling, that we start engaging the youth and making them feel part and parcel of the Nigerian project. If they don't feel part and parcel of the Nigerian project, they will say to hell with the project.
All right, Doctor, I'm looking at the graph of Boko Haram's scale of violence, and it seems to be rising. Let's look at it. Do you think there's anything that the country could have done to bring down or to reduce, or if possible, stop this rising scale of violence?
Well, you know, as a conflict resolver, I don't feel overwhelmed by any conflict. You may panic. You may shout. You definitely have to pray. But then, the only way to resolve a conflict is to engage. Is to engage. More so when it's a conflict of ideas, a conflict of mentalities, and not necessarily a conflict of raw forces. You can use raw force to defeat raw force. But if that force is fueled by ideas, you better engage the ideas. You use what we call the force of argument and not the argument of force. Now,
the force of argument and not the argument
of force. Yes, the force of argument. That is superior argument, superior reasons, better discussion. That is what we call the force of argument. The argument of force is, of course, the gun, the bombings. And you know that no nuclear weapon has been able to bomb out an idea. It's necessary to know that. But when you embrace the opponent, as George Washington says, that nothing is better able to produce peace than to be prepared to meet an enemy. And it takes a lot of courage. You know that in wars, people shoot from a distance. In mediation, in peacemaking, you engage people and face them and look them in the eyes. And that is a very strong weapon. In the case of Boko Haram that you referred to, naturally, some factors must have triggered off the movement. And the only way to solve the problem that is being created by faceless, in quote, people is to find faceless forces to engage and talk and bring out the venom first in the heart and then see how you can reach conciliation. That's why we are mediators and conciliators.
Doctor, can you explain what you mean by it's a faceless? I understand that the faceless part of Boko Haram of the state, but the faceless group, to mediate with them, what do you mean by that?
No, I mean, when for example, our president says, if you agree to come, let's talk. Naturally, that's the statement of a statesman. But you and I know that the man who throws a bomb and either dies throwing it, or the man who sends him is faceless. Nobody has come to say, I am Boko Haram, my address is on AIT Hill in Asokoro, or you can't find them in the yellow pages. To that extent, they're faceless. Naturally, too, I understand, from the social networks that they are now saying the president should come and meet them unaccompanied. Okay? Everybody knows that no president will go to meet a group like that unaccompanied. Naturally, what happens is we know that conflict is a social malady. And when it arises, just like if you have a patient in the house, you send to a doctor. It is the doctor that engages the malady and heals the sick. So also you do in conflict situations. People who are well equipped professionally, technically, are the ones you send to ask.
Okay, I'll just hold you in that frame of thought. Our phone lines are open, 094-625-203, 094-625-203, and that is the number you call to call us in for your contributions, and just go on from where you start.
Good. To an extent, if you have a spiritual problem, you go and meet a healer or a native doctor who becomes an intermediary to negotiate and argue with the spirits. So, to a large extent, faceless terrorism is like that. It's almost spiritual because you don't see the person causing your mayhem. And whether you like it or not, that person exists.
All right, okay. I'm going to draw you back a little.
Yes.
And the approach, you mentioned approach. Now, we have seen the history of Boko Haram in Nigeria, how they started, when they started in Maiduguri, the journey so far. And you said something, you said it is not a surprise, it was expected. Considering the expectation, some argue that if this was foreseen, the thin layer of the security in Nigeria was enough, that would have been enough cause for Nigerian policy to actually develop the security agents, train them, get them prepared, so that if such a thing was to happen, we would be prepared. Now, we are implementing fire brigade methods. We seem not to even know what to do. There is confusion. We are lying in the dust, waiting for a savior, as some say will say. Why now? Why now?
But sir, before you respond to that question, we have a caller. Biodun is calling us from Bayelsa. Good morning, Biodun.
Good morning, Biodun.
Hello, Biodun, are you there?
I seem to have lost that.
Okay. Yes. You were talking about our fire brigade approach and all that.
Why not?
I tell you this, no country, no force, no superpower is ever over-prepared for the sort of thing that we have just experienced. You follow the 9/11 developments. I mean, nobody could believe that the United States of America, being so well equipped, having so many important specialists in the field of terrorism, could fall victim to 9/11 in such a way. And so what happens is that the other side is always more prepared than you. And therefore, you can't be too careful for an enemy you don't envisage. Now, as a matter of policy, really, don't like...
Doctor, I'm sorry to have to cut you again.
Good.
Biodun is still on the line
from
Bayelsa.
Yeah.
Biodun.
Good morning, Biodun.
Your problem, Biodun, because we cannot hear you.
Can you turn down the volume of the television set when you get through to us so we can, correspond? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I said as a matter of my own policy, as much as possible, we don't discuss security in the media. Technical security.
Yes, indeed.
It worries me when I see it every day talking about these things in the media. But you can advise people, you can warn people, but talking about exactly what to do to solve the problem is already a media affair. Secondly, Boko Haram, for me, it's not a media affair either.
Okay.
Because like I said, in a country where you have freedom of thought, freedom of religion, freedom of worship, on the one hand, where people are free to express themselves in their religious beliefs, in their religious associations, naturally, in the course of this expression, in the course of this association, certain things could crop up. We have had the Metasine riot before. You understand, in this country. So things like that spring up from time to time. Then in a country where the analysis you two have just elicited from me about the economic situation, where so many people are idle, where so many people are itching for some sort of action, naturally, certain things may crop up. So if you put these things together, you may not be surprised that we have what we have today. I may not blame our security forces that they were not prepared for this, because like I said, it's difficult to be prepared for everything. But I decry our inability, our lack of capacity to organize simple things, to run our affairs. It's not only in the security aspect. You can see it's in many areas. I think right here now you're operating the studio on a power plant. Our railways like that. Our airways gone. Our ocean line gone. Virtually everything shows lack of capacity. So that's why most of the time I don't isolate a particular segment. I don't criticize Nigeria police for what it's worth. They are part of the system. They are part of Nigeria. I don't criticize Nigeria customs by isolation. I mean in isolation. They are part of the rot that we are operating as a nation, as a country. So, I may not say our security forces are guilty. We are guilty. We are collectively guilty. Even in matters of security. Security is not just carrying the gun. People who are not carrying guns can help people who are carrying guns to achieve more security without using the bullets. And of course, you know my concept of security. My concept of security is not guns. When you're talking about security, you talk about social security, educational security, health security, work security. If these other securities are not there, naturally, you will breed great collective insecurity which your guns are not able to handle. Now, you say we're adopting a fire brigade approach. It is true. Whether you like it or not, the forces seem to be overwhelmed, just like we are. And that's why we're saying we must listen to Polybius, the Greek philosopher, who says that a great general knows when to win a war. But the aspect of that greatness also is to know when you're likely to lose a war and change tactics. We cannot pretend that Boko Haram is not part of the Nigerian system. The boys, the girls, or whoever you do, they are our children. They are part of us. They are born by mothers, same mothers who gave birth to you and me. We must find a way to engage, to talk, to ask what can be done. Naturally, demands are always high. And that's why the president is saying, come, let's talk to you. That's why they too are saying, Mr. President, come
to us.
Come to us alone, unaccompanied. That's also, the demands initially are always very high. But when you engage, as I told you people once on this podium, my father said to me that it is with food and drinks that you ask a one-eyed man how he lost his eye. If you go empty-handed to ask an angry one-eyed man how he lost the eye, he will tell you that it's like this. You'll pluck your own eye. And added to the eye anecdote is the fact that if we go by the Mosaic law of an eye for an eye, Nigeria will be full of one-eyed men. If we go by the Mosaic law of a tooth for a tooth, we will end up with a country of toothless people. Therefore, we must engage.
All right, talking about engagement, I know you said that you're not... you do not like to discuss security matters in the media.
Yes.
I would have loved to ask you what you would suggest to be the terms of engagement when there is to be a dialogue between the federal government and the sect.
If you assure me now that you are Boko Haram, I'll give you the terms.
I will just be
I can assure you I'm not.
Good. So that's why we're saying that these things, clinically, like I said, the doctor handles every case with utmost privacy, utmost secrecy, to be able to respect the patient. Normally, you engage people by trying to find what angers them.
Okay.
And it's by talking that you remove the venom and then get to the root of the matter.
Okay.
And then address the matter.
Okay. Doctor, I'm going to bring you back to the issue of the growing culture of bombs, in Nigeria, the proliferation of bomb making in Nigeria, because let's look at the Potescom cattle market. Now, if those were robbers that attacked that market, it means that even armed robbers now have access to bombs. All right, the unsuccessful robbery in Ondo State, the robbers also used a bomb, to make way for themselves and use explosive devices. And imagine during a political rally where thugs, because if robbers, I'm sure some of them are the same set of people that desperate politicians will use to create violence and mayhem. Imagine in a rally, these people will now have access to bombs, and then a bomb is thrown into a rally by, thugs employed by the opponent. What is the future of Nigeria if these issues of proliferation of bomb making is not addressed? Where does the country stand?
Now, Sanami, tell me one thing we don't have access to in Nigeria. With globalization?
We didn't used to have access to bombs.
Yeah, but we're not living in the past.
Yes.
We are now. I told you the story of jeans. Huh? We didn't have those things in the past. Do you know that now you broadcast 24 hours?
Yes.
Were you doing that in the past? We used to, the first time I watched television, it was in my secondary school. They used to start it by 6 p.m. When we
in my
finished
time, they used to start at 4 p.m. and end at midnight.
Good. So, you see, it has evolved. And so also social vices are evolving. The people who are making weapons, they too are evolving. The computers, the first computers that came used to be very bulky. Now you are good. Your telephone, your handset there, which you never had some years back, is a computer on its own.
It is.
So that's how violence is evolving. The implements for causing violence are also being evolved, being fine-tuned. And so let us accept the reality that it is evolving, it is here with us. If not well handled, we will have more violence. And so the question should be, what do we do to reduce the tension that generates violence?
So what do we do?
What we have to do, I've said this here before, I've said this on different fora, is a situation where the majority of the people are unemployed and hopeless. Naturally breeds anger, angst, really,
and desperation.
Desperation, and of course, resort to either self-annihilation or annihilation of the perceived cause of the frustration. A former Minister of Oil, Minister of Petroleum of Venezuela, who was actually founder of OPEC, did say that crude oil is the excrement of the devil.
I've heard that before.
That it is the excrement of the devil. It smells, it poisons. And that's what has poisoned our politics. It has poisoned our economy. It has fueled corruption. People are no longer working. Where it is extracted, it destroys the environment. It kills the fish. The fishermen have nothing to do.
Destroys the land.
It destroys the land. And it is being extracted by foreigners. And so that's why you are talking of Nigerian content today in our oil industry. How many people does the oil industry employ? Nigerians are only involved in the downstream, building stations. If you go from here to any town in Nigeria, what you see is filling stations on the road, that's all. Nothing is happening again. So what used to employ us, and employ us mentally and physically, and produce what we ate, has been destroyed.
Agriculture.
Agriculture. It was the greatest employer. Today, it's supposed to still be the greatest employer of labor, but unfortunately the people who are engaged in it are the old and expired segment of our population. The young people are in town looking for white-collar jobs. The blue-collar jobs are not there because industry is not working. Our electricity is not working. Industry is not thriving to create blue-collar jobs, and so everybody is looking for white-collar jobs. And the white-collar job industry is rather shrinking. You've heard about the Rosen report that is talking about pruning down our agencies, parastatals. In fact, finding a way to get rid of about 100 of them because we replicate them to be able to create white-collar jobs. So people are idle, people are hungry, people are angry, and they'll make recourse to desperation. And if we don't do anything to get them occupied and engaged, I am sorry, they will naturally find ways of expressing their anger in ways that we do not like.
Okay, I'll bring you back. You quite mentioned earlier that you do not...
You're always bringing me back. Yeah. I hope you bring me back to Nigeria.
Well, I'll take you to France first and get you to where jeans. All right, okay. You say an eye for an eye. You know, you mentioned that, and it's not the way to go. And you also say you don't discuss some security measures on the media. But I want to say something that I wanted to actually form the cause of this question I'm about to ask. A lot has been said about the non-Nigerianness of the people who are so-called referred to as Boko Haram. And, of course, we know that by the porousness of the Nigerian border, of course, anybody like Tsunami would say that to get to from Badagry to move over to the other side was quite easy because you just need somebody to hold your hand and take you across the border. Now, that doesn't mean that non-Nigerians cannot live amongst Nigerians. And who says that Nigerians who travel to either Niger, Chad, or Cameroon cannot actually naturalize, learn the language, and move back? Now, that's what a lot of people seem to be worried about. You're living close to somebody from Cameroon, and of course you know that perhaps they're illegal or maybe they're immigrants, and you suspect something. What number do you call? Who do you run to in that local community? Because we're saying it's a collective effort by the whole of Nigeria to fight this cause, to fight this threat. So if we cannot get in touch with the local police immediately with something as immediate as suspecting somebody or suspecting a house to be filled with IEDs, I'm thinking that being a conciliator, there should be a number, there should be a local station in every... I don't know if you agree with me on that.
I agree with you, and I'm interested in the different areas you've touched. You've talked about illegal immigration, the foreigners who are with us, whom we don't even know.
All right. Sorry, Doctor, to have to cut you in. We've decided to use a new phone line, so those who are trying to reach us can reach us. You can now call us on 097809-477, 097809-477.
Good, but I can call you direct here.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you touched on very interesting issues: illegal immigration. People who are in Nigeria, who from our neighboring countries, and
porous
borders, and then communication equipment of the police stations and so on and so forth. Let me take people have been thinking that Boko Haram is an imported thing. Let me deal with that first. There is Boko Haram all over Nigeria. The concept of Boko Haram is that, look, the Western education I acquired is useless. And why I tell you that it's everywhere is when you see a young Nigerian girl who has a degree, brilliant girl, standing in Zone 4 here in the evening, waiting for a man to pick her. She's competing with the traditional prostitute. Okay? So, she's saying, even the book, the education I acquired is useless. I should have gone into prostitution earlier. I would have been a better prostitute now.
I know. Sorry.
We have
a caller?
Yes.
Okay.
Emma Stevens. Emma, good morning. Emma, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
All right, thank you. Can we have your contribution?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you loud and clear. Let's have your contribution.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am Chief Dr. Emma Stevens, the Director of SIPAC Nigeria. I want to make my own contribution to this very security problem facing our country today. The government has called the citizens and has called other corporate bodies to be part of this very
oh dear. We lost Ime there. Sorry, Ime. You can try call us back.
Please, we would like your contributions very much indeed. Please, sir.
Okay,
go ahead.
Back to our audience. The chap who is kidnapping people in Imo State, in Delta State, in Anambra State, in Enugu State, if you check very well, it's not a stark illiterate. These chaps did not come from outside Nigeria. They're Nigerians. They did not come through porous borders. The Nigerians reacting to Nigerian environmental problems, socio-environmental problems. So, let us not engage in denial. Let us not engage in not looking at our problems squarely in the face and thinking that it is some guy from Niger or from Chad or from Cameroon or from Benin Republic.
But is that impossible?
It's not impossible, but it's more remote. Because like I told you, no abductor, no kidnapper in this other area, in the south of the country, has been found to have come from any other place. Now, there is social malaise all over the country. All over the country. And this is what we're afraid may now gang up and spread and explode into anarchy, chaos, or revolution.
We're running out of time.
Yeah, we can.
Good. So if we're running out of the time, out of time, and you want me to do what? Advise Nigerians?
Yes. Round up, yeah.
Round up?
Yes.
I say, if Nigeria does not stop violence, violence will stop Nigeria.
Word.
If Nigeria does not embrace peace, peace will elude Nigeria. And if Nigeria does not uproot corruption, corruption will uproot Nigeria.
Fantastic.
It was scary.
Fantastic. The deep it almost has this in the middle of it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr.
It was fantastic having you here.
Thank you very much.
We've been talking about, of course, the bomb culture and, of course, the insurgency of Boko Haram in Nigeria and what it could have, the effect it could have in the Nigerian policy towards political campaigns. We've been joined by Dr. Paddy Kemdi Njoko, President, Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators, President, International Institute of Leadership and Governance. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
much.
And
thank
you too. Thank you very much, Sanami, for joining the interview. One thing does come to the fore, and this is quote unquote Dr. Paddy's statement. It says, if Nigeria does not stop violence, violence will stop Nigeria, and if Nigeria does not uproot corruption, corruption will uproot Nigeria. Well, I hope they say a word is enough for the wise. This is coming to the top of the hour. It's now time for Pan-Africa, and when we come back, so now we'll take you through it all. Stay tuned.
Thanks for staying with us. The Minister of Interior, Abba Moro, says there is need for the immediate overhaul of the prison system in the country. Moro made this known in Abuja on Wednesday when he received the report of the 5-man committee on Cotton Cafe jailbreak investigations. The chairman of the committee, John Oda, said there is need for speedy trials of inmates to decongest prisons and improve the conditions of inmates. Nigeria is now set to join other industrialized nations in the development of alternative sources of renewable energy. This is following the official commissioning of the Center for Renewable Energy Research and Development, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua University, Katsina, Northwest Nigeria. The Executive Secretary, Petroleum Technology Development Fund, Mutaha Rabi Dama, said the center carried out functional research to develop alternative energy harnessing other sources like solar, biofuel, hydro, wind, and sand. The Director General of the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, Aruma Ote, has formally apologized to the House Committee probing the capital market over her non-appearance at Tuesday's public hearing. She told the committee on Wednesday that it was not her intention to undermine the authority of the committee or that of the House of Representatives. Accepting her apology, Chairman of the committee, Ibrahim El Sudi, said the committee had no ill feelings toward anyone but had a duty to protect the integrity of the legislative arm of government. South Sudan has accused Khartoum of bombing its territory in violation of a UN Security Council resolution to end hostilities. Juba's information minister said several areas had been targeted in air raids in the last 48 hours, but Khartoum said it had the right to respond to acts of aggression. Disputes over oil stemming from South Sudan's secession in July led to clashes last month and fears of a return to all-out war. A massive arms cache has been uncovered in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in the farm of renegade soldier Bosco Ntaganda. Other heavy weapons were found in 2 other locations in North Kivu, the scene of recent fighting against army mutineers. The International Criminal Court has accused General Ntaganda of recruiting child soldiers for the same rebel groups as Thomas Lubanga, who in March became the first person to be convicted of war crimes by The Hague. A Briton accused of Islamist extremism extremist ties has appeared in court in the Kenyan coastal city of Mombasa. Jermaine Grant, 29, was arrested last December and denies allegations that he was planning a bomb attack and possessed explosive materials. The Londoner, who Kenya authorities say is linked to Somali militants Al-Shabaab, has already been jailed for being in the country illegally. That was Pan-African Voice. Kaakaki B African Voice continues when we come back. Adora will take us through the newspapers. Do stay with us.
What are you doing here?
David! You want your game man to stop me from entering your house?
I want to let you know that I will win the competition.
When the thunder strikes, the earth shakes. When the burning spear strikes, there comes confusion, detestation, deception, disbelief, love, and dismay. Trust in man is deadly. Your close friend, your worst enemy. The Burning Spear. Burning Spear, a story of multi-identity, suspense-filled, educative, and entertaining. The Burning Spear.
Come on, let's go.
Nowhere.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
On issues that are really burning their fingers and even affecting them, on the cancer that is eating the nation.
We have a government that is accomplishing so little because it is attempting to do so much.
It is absolutely important that the state of our criminal justice system is made an agenda item.
If you look at Section 285 of the Constitution, it says you must file your petition